A wise man once said, never give up on what you really want to do. In the case of Brandon Quinton Adams, I think he gave up on acting because he didn't really want to do it. It's not like Brandon didn't possess the skill set to land roles in present-day Hollywood. His voice and face was featured in some of the most iconic projects from the 90s, so with the right agent, it would be easy to parlay that into some decent acting gigs. Whatever happened to this guy?
Where is she now? Where is she now?
Someone knows where he is.
Before we jump into the later, let's jump into the before. It's no secret that show business isn't the easiest club to get into. At a young age, Brandon knew what he wanted to do, and to get the industry's attention, instead of just acting, he sharpened his skills as a dancer and has even admitted he could sing a little bit. With the flair that could land him his big break in acting, dancing, or singing, Brandon capitalized and started getting print ads and commercials here and there. But his first step into pop culture happened when he was casted in Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. I try not to trap actors into a box for past roles, but when Mighty Ducks and Sandlot were released, which are regarded as classics now, I saw Jesse Hall and Kenny DeNunez pointed at my TV screen and said, hey, that's the kid from Annie, Are You Okay? With that being said, being featured in the Michael Jackson project in the 80s was a big deal. When we look back, the projects Brandon participated in are iconic. If I listed off his IMDb credits, most movie or TV buffs are going to be familiar with 70% of the titles. With fortunes like that, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, and you gotta give credit to the casting department or an agent. But with him, I could honestly say he stood out in his roles, so he had a je ne sais quoi about him. I remember watching him on a couple of different World episodes as a kid. I lived in a house with 2 women, 3 girls, and 2 boys. The boys thought he was cool, the women found him adorable, and the girls found him attractive. Also, I wasn't used to seeing characters say lines, but legit sound like they were from my neighborhood without sounding fake. You can't teach that type of savoir-faire. Google the Oliver and Company lyrics if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Hey, check it out, man. Help the little brother out. Give him a job. He's just trying to get paid.
I think that's a talent to be able to act, but bring some of your own personality into the character. Fast forward to Mighty Ducks, he stole the show. Looking back, most of you guys remember Charlie being the more iconic character, and he would become that. But after the release of Part 1 and before D2 came out, most of my classmates, white, black, Hispanic, etc., would agree Jesse Hall was the leader of the Ducks. He was the spokesperson for the team. He was in the front most of the time, and even during the Flying V. I'm sorry, but you only letting key characters skate in front of the V. Plus, he says the most iconic phrase in the series.
On behalf of the Ducks, I'd like to say welcome.
Cake eater.
What I'm trying to say is he wasn't just some random. He wasn't some seasoned thespian either. Hollywood doesn't do this anymore, but they would occasionally hand over the keys to a major motion picture to a preteen. And it didn't always turn out well. Kid actors would routinely stank it up. If a studio gave you the bat and you knocked it out of the ballpark, 100% of the time, it meant more opportunities. Is that always the case though? I think most people would agree Sandlot is Brandon's most memorable role. Even if it's not your favorite, when it comes to his career, it's in everybody's top 3. In Sandlot, the entire cast was throwing heat. And I'm not even talking about heaters.
This is my heater. I dare you to hit it.
What I mean is, the reason the movie went on to gross 14 times its budget in ticket sales and home media releases is mainly because of the child actors. After this movie, Brandon Adams' career should have been on the up and up. Sadly, Adams would never be able to will the on-screen magic like he did in his earlier films for the rest of his career. His career took a dip after he took on some roles for some underperforming films. There was Ghost in the Machine. I get why he took the role, but looking back, it probably never made sense. Sure, it was produced by Fox, who had had success with Adams on another giant project. He also reunited with 2 former castmates, but he got no shine in the movie, and even if they gave him more lines, it probably still wouldn't have made a difference. His next major motion picture was Mighty Ducks 2. It's a classic now, but critics tore this movie up when it first came out.
Apart from that, I don't know. It's a formula picture with a lot of energy, but I give it marginal thumbs down.
My problem was with the adults. The kids are, the energy...
The kids are the kids.
Kids are, yeah, although, I mean, you couldn't, the stereotyping, but it's the adults who are really boring, and Emilio Estevez's character is the most lackluster element in the film.
Although I love the movie, Jesse was pushed to the background to make way for new additions to the team.
Jesse, just do it, man.
All right, let's go. Flying V, come on.
They still gave Jesse some shine by letting him lead the Flying V. But Gunnar Stahl and the Iceland squad ate that up like Banks eat cake. Come on, Jesse.
We're doing our best.
when your best isn't good enough anymore.
Outside of Mighty Ducks 2, for the rest of the 90s, we saw Adams depart from films and started taking small roles on TV series. When it came to acting, I don't think Brandon's heart was in it anymore. My words, not his. He spent most of his young life in the business and missed out on school events. He needed to be a young person and do what he wanted to do. His words, not mine. Straight from the horse's mouth, I grew up in Inglewood, LA, and South Central. I was always humbled by my situation. I would go on set and come home to my neighborhood and my block to my friends, and it would be a whole other story. Adams' departure from the industry seemed to be spearheaded by his own accord rather than him getting pushed out. He decided to go to college and further his education. He joined a prestigious black fraternity during his undergrad years, and for the first time in a long time, he probably felt like a regular guy. In show business, controversy is like glue to youth. More often than not, child stars have their name attached to drugs, crime, sex scandals, and the list goes on. Brandon managed to make it through the machine without any dark clouds. But a tragic event casted Adams in a leading role, and the aftermath drew a wedge between him and his passion for acting. Brandon's best friend was a fellow actor named Merlin Santana. They both rose through the ranks around the same time and would even guest star on some of the same shows, so it made sense that they developed a friendship. The following event took place in 2002, and the turn of the millennium was the dawn of the celebrity death hoax. So even when it happened, a lot of people disregarded it as a hoax. On November 9, 2002, Brandon and Merlin visited a house in Crenshaw. Monique King, a 15-year-old, was at the house and left. When she returned, she was accompanied by her 19-year-old boyfriend Damian Andre Gates and one of his friends, a 23-year-old named Brandon Douglas Bynes. Police said Monique told her boyfriend and his friend that both Santana and Adams had made sexual advances toward her earlier that night. The boyfriend and his friend posted up outside with guns and waited for Santana and Adams to leave. As soon as both of them entered their vehicle, Adams the driver and Santana the passenger, the two shooters shot the car 6 times. One of the 6 bullets pierced the passenger headrest, killing Merlin Santana. Adams managed to drive off and signal an officer for help. This was a tragedy for everyone involved. Merlin Santana was pronounced dead at the scene. Bynes got 23 years in prison after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Gates, the boyfriend, got 70 years to life in prison for first-degree murder. Monique got 10 years in juvie and later admitted that she fabricated the story about the sexual advances. Also, Brandon Adams watched his best friend die a senseless death right before his eyes. Like I said, tragic all the way around. Adams has remained mum on the events that night, and I'm not mad at him. I hate hearing about this story, and I didn't even have to live through it. I can't even imagine what the trauma is like for Adams. I can't be sure, but to me, it sounded like there was some envy attached to the murder of Merlin Santana and the attempted murder of Brandon Adams. When you're a celebrity, you have a constant target on your back, and in cases like this, those circumstances prove to be deadly. Adams has almost completely distanced himself away from the limelight, and when he does decide to flex his chops, it's usually voiceover work, so he's still technically in the shadows.
Cypher's not feeling so hot, you know?
Nowadays, it's cool to see that Brandon has embraced his legacy as a 90s pop culture icon. He comes out of hiding for film reunions with his old castmates from the Mighty Ducks and Sandlot. The fans of his movies are all grown up now, and those same grown-up fans have kids now, so every year a new generation is being introduced to his movies. Adams has found a way to stay active behind the scenes. At the beginning of his departure from acting, he took screenwriting and directing classes. He's put his voice to work, and he occasionally does some voiceover work, but also stays busy by rapping under the moniker B. Lee. A majority of Brandon's free time is consumed by his daughter Ayanna. They're attached at the hip, and she is her daddy's daughter. She's following in his footsteps and started to do ads, and the goal is for her to get deeper into acting. Her father has been there, done that, and it'll be great for her to profit from his wisdom and learn from his mistakes and successes. It's definitely an advantage to have someone like that in your corner. I'm adamant about not being fearful, not wasting time, Adams says. Do what makes you happy, not for money, not for fame, but for yourself. That's where Brandon Quinton Adams is now and where he's going. If there's another person you want me to highlight, drop the name in the comment section and I'll do some digging. Hit the like and subscribe button and stay tuned.